This is the Book Talk with Corbin podcast. I'm your host. I'm going to make this real short and real clear. I've picked up this book called It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, A New Paradigm for Black America, and it's written by Dr. Boyce Watkins. Now, he's a Kentuckian. I think he's actually from Louisville, Kentucky, but he's definitely a Kentuckian. And I do believe he did his undergraduate work at the University of Kentucky. So he's a Kentuckian. He's one of us. He's one of me. That right there attracted me to the brother. Secondly, I've listened to his. He's got a YouTube channel and he does a whole lot of other social media stuff. I listen to him a lot. I'll be perfectly frank with you. I say about 80% of his politics I don't agree with, but I listen to him. I pay attention to him because he's just not some left-wing liberal with his head stuck up the rear end of the Democratic Party. He's critical of the Democratic Party. He's critical of the Republican Party. I think his criticism of the Republican Party is more often than not off base, and I say that as a member of the Republican Party. He's done extensive research in the Republican Party and has a lot of Republican Party connections and contacts. But Dr. Boyce Watkins, when he does offer criticism of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, man, I pay attention. Because he's not some moron running around there talking about how he's going to walk up and down Broadway naked to beat somebody up. And he's rational in his criticism. He gives evidence. And he has no problem whatsoever in talking with folk. Oh, you disagree with him on something? Hey. He doesn't have a problem in engaging you in discussion. I have a lot of respect for Dr. Boyce Watkins. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to have other people read this book. It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, A New Paradigm for Black America. And I'd like to record like a Zoom interview where 3-4 of us, hosted by me, or talk about this book and things in this book, what you agree with or what you don't agree with. I think it's that important a book. Now, I have read the first chapter. I haven't finished it yet, but I have read the first chapter, and I'm saying to myself, man, we need at least 250,000 copies of this book sold. Did you hear what I said? We need at least 250,000 copies of that book sold. And we need to have small groups of black folk getting together. I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, Republican, or Democrat, male or female. I don't care if you're a member of the national black community. We need to get in like small groups and discuss this book. Man, there's a lot in here, and it's very short. I mean, it's like only like 53 pages. But man, what I've read so far, I said to myself, man, this guy, he really got my brain to thinking. I mean, he really got me to thinking. And I'm at the point where I definitely want to do like a book discussion group around this book. I like to do it on Zoom, and I will be the host of it. And I maybe at one of the library branches, how they do discussion groups down there. One thing I found with some, not all, but a good number, too many black folk who consider themselves, intellectuals or committed to the uplift of the community, is that they're not willing to sit down and just talk and engage in rational, friendly, in-depth discussions. All too often they try to sort of persuade, I know the truth, and they may engage in the discussion and they'll say stupid stuff that's insulting. Oh, you just mad because I'm telling the truth. No, I'm mad because you're an idiot. And I'm also mad because, you're up in my face and you got bad breath. What, you ain't got toothpaste or toothbrush at home? I mean, seriously. It's just dumb stuff. So it's often a real hunt to try to find some intelligent, thoughtful, rational black folk who want to sit down and have a good discussion about things. And I think if each one of us, the several of us, was to read this book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, A New Paradigm for Black America, That's going to provoke some good, thoughtful, intelligent conversation. So, hey, folks, read that book and just say to me, hey, I love to sit down, through Zoom or maybe at a Shawnee Branch library, have a discussion about the book. I personally think it's that important. So if you want to leave something there at my Facebook page, Book Talk with Corbin, or if you want to go to my website, booktalkwithcorbin.com, and say, yeah, I'd love to engage in a discussion group about this book. It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, a new paradigm shift for Black America. And you can get it at Amazon.com. I'm sure Dr. Watkins has a website right offhand. I don't know what that website is, but I'm sure he has one. Just do a Google search, and you can probably, probably be best really if you got the book directly from him. I personally got this copy from Amazon.com. So, and I mean it when I say, dude, we need to have at least 250,000 of these books out there circulating within the Black community. And I'm saying this as a person who is to the right of Dr. Boyce, and I'm saying this as a person who's a conservative and patriot first, conservative, and member of the Republican Party in that order. But I'm also someone who's very much in the political tradition of Marcus Garvey and Booker T. Washington. And I really see the vital importance of us being able to sit down and have good discussions. I tell you, one person who's always inspired me was Tony Brown. I don't know if you guys ever watched the Tony Brown Journal. Oh, my God. That guy was amazing. He would have everybody and anybody from the Black community, from the left to the right, wouldn't matter. You'd have like black folks who are in the federal government under a Republican administration, to someone like Kwame Ture and Angela Davis. Boy, he'd have everybody. I remember one time he had a big discussion. He had to have like 10, 12 folk, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was invited, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad actually could not go into the studio, so they tried to pipe him in, through a book. Through the phone. They didn't have Zoom and all that kind of stuff at that time. But I was so impressed with that. He had Angela Davis there. He had Kwame Ture there, Roy Ennis. He had Walter White there. This guy just had everybody. If you're Black and you're talking about uplifting the community, you were there. And, man, it was just amazing. And I was really impressed when he bent over backwards to invite the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. A lot of times, too often, Black folk, there's certain Black groups, particularly if they get their heads stuck so far up the Democratic Party's they won't invite somebody like a Kwame Ture or, of course, Kwame is gone, he's passed, but someone like him, someone of his political thinking, or someone like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Shoot, I have very, very, very few agreements with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when it comes to theology and religion and his politics, but I acknowledge the fact that he is an influential figure in the Black community. And I do believe some of his books should be read and discussed in book discussion groups. Black folk around the country, not just members of the Nation of Islam, but people, of different political persuasions and religious persuasions. And so I say all that to circle back to Dr. Boyce Watkins' book. Let's have a discussion via Zoom or in the public library. Let's have a discussion about this book. It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, a New Paradigm for Black America. And, let me know if you're willing to participate in that discussion with me as the host.